Hi guys, it's Michelle with Deception Bytes. Actually, I'm really not sure why I say that. It's Michelle from Deception Bytes because this is my channel. Who else would it be? I have a friend that always calls me and says, are you there? And I always say, no, I left. Like, what an odd thing to say. Are you there? Of course you're there. You answered. Anyway, that has nothing to do with anything, but I'll just throw it in there for free. I won't charge you for that one. So let's get into the Q posts. We've got some interesting stuff to cover, really interesting stuff to cover. So we'll go to the ones from, what is today? Isn't that awful? Yep, these are the latest and greatest, February 6th. So Q writes, public interest, keep high. And that's basically directed at us. And he wants us to keep the public interest high by getting this stuff out there, probably, getting memes out there, tweeting, whatever, keeping it in the public interest, keeping it in the public eye. Then he says, you won, FBI informant. It took me a while to actually get this because I read this as Uranium One. It's not. And I'll show you why it's not. Let me go, on my note over here, I said, okay, Carter Page is he was really not an employee. He was a volunteer and working with Trump, with the Trump campaign. And he actually worked for the FBI. And he was UCE 1 informant. 2003, busted by FBI as a Russian spy in 2016, providing basis for FISA warrant to surveil him, that became the dragnet over the entire Donald Trump campaign. So that's what set it all into motion right there, is Carter Page. And he was a plant, not the green kind, like not, a caladium. Like if he was a plant, he would probably be a really ugly, nasty plant, like the kind that eat flies and stuff, like a meat-eating plant. Yeah. Anyway, so let's go to this link out here, and I'll show you a little bit further here. This actually is why it took me so long to decode this, because I kept working at that, saying, what is that? I knew it wasn't, it just wasn't right. So here we go. And I found this out here. It kind of unraveled it for me. The court documents say that Mr. Page, who founded an investment company in New York called Global Energy Capital, provided documents about the energy business to one of the Russians. To record their conversations, the FBI inserted a listening device into binders that were passed to the Russian intelligence operatives during an energy conference, according to a former United States intelligence officer. An FBI undercover employee, UCE1, that's who Page was, who was posing as an analyst for a New York-based energy company. UCE1 provided Sporishev with binders containing purported industry analysis written by UCE1 and supporting documentation relating to UCE1's reports, as well as covertly placed recording devices. So he was FBI. He was working for the FBI. He was working undercover and getting intelligence from these Russians about this New York global energy capital. And so then he went to work. He was a volunteer, actually, with the Trump campaign, and that's what set all this FISA stuff into motion. So that is important, and because it kind of goes along with everything else Q is saying in that post, I believe that that is the correct interpretation. Then he says, A1, DWS, Paki Intel /MB. Now, this, the A1 brothers, and I think that's how you pronounce it, but I could be wrong because, again, I just want to explain to you, I don't watch TV, I read everything. So sometimes I get names mispronounced because I'm used to reading them, not hearing them. So anyway, so forgive me if my pronunciation of some of these names is wrong, and some people have been kind enough to write it below the proper pronunciation, and I appreciate that. I should actually be looking all that up myself, and I only have so much time. So the Awan brothers were appointed IT positions under Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and that's obviously what DWS stands for, Awan/DWS, the Awan brothers, IT positions under Debbie Wasserman Schultz, which ultimately led to them hacking all of Congress for blackmail purposes and intel. They leaked intel to the Pakistani intelligence service and the Muslim Brotherhood. And so that's what he's talking about there. And then he goes on to tarmac meeting. And in brackets, SC/LL deal, and then, a greater than symbol or leading to AS 187. So let me decode that for you. Former President Bill Clinton offered to then Attorney General Loretta Lynch the Supreme Court, this is Supreme Court, seat of murdered Antonin Scalia, I believe is how you pronounce it, in exchange for Lynch making sure the FBI investigation into former Secretary Hillary Clinton's email server be stopped, exonerating Clinton of any criminal charges. Clinton reasoned Obama's nomination of Judge Merrick Garland to replace Scalia would go nowhere with Republicans in the Senate wanting to reserve the nomination for the next president. With Scalia's seat open, Hillary as president could nominate Lynch. So that's what that whole thing was about. Anthony Scalia, which is AS, and 187 is the code for murder. He was murdered. It wasn't just that he died in his sleep. Nope, he was murdered. So why was he murdered? He was murdered to open up that seat, and possibly for other reasons as well, because there's some other things there that are interesting as well. But that was the main purpose. They wanted that seat open so that Loretta Lynch could get in there and get that seat. Then Bill Clinton meets with Loretta Lynch on the tarmac, this tarmac meeting, which is supposed to be secretive but really wasn't. So somewhere there's got to be pictures or recordings or something of that meeting, because how would anyone know about it if that didn't exist? So I think that is yet to come out. But so Bill Clinton meets with Loretta Lynch on the tarmac and says, look, the seat's going to come available. I have to see the timeline as to whether Anthony Scalia was dead yet. I think if he wasn't, it was very soon after this, but I've got that written down in a minute and we'll check. So they meet together. He says, okay, this is coming open, the seat. So if you make sure that, these criminal charges against my wife are dropped, then, when she gets in, she's going to make sure that you get a seat in the Senate. That's what happened there. And so there's more on this, so I'm going to leave this for right now, but I am going to check the timeline on my other page here, because I've got a timeline here that I copied from someone. So let me see when that meeting was. Maybe it doesn't. Oh, tarmac meeting was 6/27. Okay, and Scalia was he died. Let me see, February. So yeah, he was already dead. I thought so, but I just wanted to be sure. Now let's go back. Not there. Right here. Let's go on to the next one. We're going to get a little bit more into this Antonin Scalia. Is that his name? Antonin Scalia. Yes. I know it in writing, but again, I probably do need to maybe listen to more news so that I can get all these pronunciations correct. It's awful. It's embarrassing. Okay. I should be ashamed, and I am. Okay. The next post is February 6th, and he is directing this at who? 6/8? Not sure. Oh, he's directing it to this person right here. So first of all, an anonymous user posted this. Lynch offered basically they're asking, was Lynch offered a Supreme Court position if Hillary got through? And so this is Q responding to this, this anon. He's saying, build a timeline. And that's what we just looked at on the second page. We're going to look at that later as well. And he said, Antonin Scalia, 187. So he was murdered February 13th, 2016. Then, 4 months later, there's the tarmac meeting with Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton. Okay? And then says, Hillary Rodham Clinton investigation pivot points. So basically saying build a timeline. Start with the murder of Antonin Scalia and then put in all the investigation pivot points and then put in James Comey's dismissal letter, and that was when he dismisses the Clinton investigation, July 5th, 2016. And then number 2, so QAnon is directing our attention to number 2, namely the FBI Director Andrew McCabe, and to PS, namely FBI Peter Strzok, both of whom played roles in making sure the language of Comey's letter dismissing the Clinton criminal indictment was toned down so as not to include the precise statutory language defining a national security crime involving the handling of classified information. Okay, now we've touched on all that before, so I'm not going to get all up in that. So PS is Peter Strzok. WL, of course, is WikiLeaks Communications. Now, this is how I'm reading this, okay? Because the emails, Peter Strzok's emails, with Lisa Page, that didn't come from WikiLeaks. So I don't think he's talking about that. I think he's saying that WikiLeaks has the goods. See, all this stuff hasn't come out yet. They're sitting on a ton of information still. So we don't know what they have. But anyway, that's how I read that they've got the goods. And in fact, I think it's referring to the tarmac meeting personally. But again, that's a personal opinion and I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. I might even be wrong now. So there we go. Now let's just kind of slip back out there and take a look at that timeline. Not there. Here. So first of all, we had the Podesta email, and let's see, I think I have that one, where he's talking about Wetworks, okay? Now, everyone knows what Wetworks is, seriously. I mean, everybody knows that is code for murder. It's killing somebody. That's what they did, there's other words as well, not Wetworks, Wetwork is what we're, gosh, what is that? There's other words anyway that all mean the same thing, but it's like wet being, pools of blood. So, okay, so we had that email, and if you haven't seen that email, it is, where is it? Right here, okay? Now, the email is very simple, okay? But it just said, didn't think Wetworks meant pool parties at the vineyard. Okay, that sounds pretty, tame. And really, if I read that, and I mean, I know what Wetworks means, so it does kind of, pique my interest, but I would think, oh, that's nothing. He's gotten invited to a pool party and, they're joking about Wetworks, the pool party at the vineyard. Okay, well, keep that in mind going forward, okay? Just keep that email in the back of your mind because we're going to look at where he died and Scalia died, okay? But first of all, let's just look at this timeline. We've got the Podesta email on February 6th. Then just a few days later, we've got the murder of Antonin Scalia. I want to call him Anthony for some reason. Podesta email regarding Scalia replacement was on February 13th, the same day that he died. And then Peter Strzok, end Hillary investigation, text draft memo exonerating Hillary Rodham Clinton was in May 2016. and Peter Strzok changed wording from grossly negligent to extremely careless, and that was in June. And then you've got the tarmac meeting, June 27th. So the wording was changed here on the 20th, and then you have the tarmac meeting, and then you had Loretta Lynch to accept FBI findings, and that was July 1st. And then Hillary Rodham Clinton's interviewed by the FBI on the 2nd, but they've already changed the wording here before they even interviewed her. And then James Comey dismisses the investigation on 7/5, July 5th. And then Seth Rich is murdered on the 10th. And then WikiLeaks published the DNC Podesta emails, and that was on the 22nd. McCabe aware of additional emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop. Oh, we got some juicy stuff about that too. Okay, and that was in August, September 2016. And then Bruce Orr's wife goes to work for Fusion GPS in September 2016. NYPD threatens to go public with arrest warrants based on contents of Anthony Weiner's laptop in October. Second FISA warrant issued to spy on Carter Page Trump campaign, October 2016. And James Comey reopens Hillary Rodham Clinton's email investigation based on new emails, 10/28. James Comey issues letter to not prosecute Hillary Rodham Clinton, 11/6. And then James Comey to Trump dossier unverified, January 2017. So there you go. It's the chair, okay? Every time I've got a spinal injury, and when I shift in the chair, well, I've explained it before, but I feel for the sake of new people coming in that I have to explain that it's the chair. So it's a leather chair, but I'm getting a new one delivered on Friday. So I'm excited about that. I hope it's not as squeaky. All right. Now, let's go back, because I'm bound and bent that I'm going to get off topic here. Okay. Let's go back. So let's just take a further look, just because it's interesting, at the whole Scalia thing. Scalia was murdered to make room for Loretta Lynch. Podesta was involved as a week before, in a leaked email, he talked about Wetworks. The property where Scalia died had both a vineyard and a pool. He was visiting, and we're gonna see where he was, but it had a huge vineyard and a pool. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Just a coincidence. Did WikiLeaks uncover a murder plot? Podesta documents suggest Scalia assassination. Yeah, WikiLeaks did uncover a murder plot. Go Julian. Okay. Now, hang on here. And there's the email. That's the full email. Well, that's the first email, actually, and then that is the response. I'm all in. Sounds like it will be a bad night. We all need to buckle up, double down. Then this didn't think Wetworks meant pool parties at the vineyard. So then this is the aerial view of where, and it was, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Saboyo, I believe, Creek Ranch, and that's where his body was found. Okay, there's the pool, and there's the vineyard. Okay, that's the, and apparently it says $395 because that's how much it costs a night to stay there. And that's where they were. And this is just interesting too. I'll just mention this, but I won't get into it. Chelsea Clinton. Now that Scalia's gone, we can enact gun control. Does that not sound a little insensitive? Or is it just me? Anyway, let's go back. And let's go look at this one. Okay, the facts about the death of Justice Scalia are quite suspicious. Yes, they are. Let me get rid of this guy. Alrighty. Justice Scalia went on a hunting trip in Caboyo Creek Ranch in Texas, but he did not meet up with the hunting team. The ranch's owner, John Poindexter, went to go check up on him. He knocked on the door of his room, but there was no response. I had not seen him, and everyone else was up. I knocked loudly, Poindexter said. Poindexter stated that the night before, Scalia was congenial during dinner and did not show any signs that he was on the verge of dying. He was seated near me, and I had a chance to observe him. He was very entertaining. But about 9 p.m., he said, "It's been a long day and a long week. I want to get some sleep." Poindexter eventually entered the room and found Scalia dead on his bed with a pillow over his head. Yes, people that die in their sleep of heart failure or whatever they blamed it on generally do put a pillow over their head before they die. Right. Okay. We discovered the judge in bed, a pillow over his head. His bedclothes were unwrinkled, said Poindexter. Presidio County Sheriff Danny Dominguez called up Presidio County Judge Cinderella Guevara and informed her of the death of Scalia. Guevara recounted the conversation with the sheriff. He says, "Judge, I'm at Caboyo Creek Ranch and Supreme Court Justice has just passed away, and I need someone here immediately. Both Justice of the Peace are out of town at the time." Strangely, when the judge did plan to drive to the ranch, the sheriff told her, "It's not necessary for you to come, Judge. If you're asking for an autopsy, that's what we need to clarify." Okay. And what makes the story of Scalia quite unusual is the fact that no autopsy was performed, and his body was quickly embalmed. His body was moved to Sunset Funeral Home at 3:30 a.m., where Scalia's corpse was embalmed. Chris Lugan, a manager for Sunset Funeral Home, confirmed that no autopsy was performed on Scalia's body. Judge Cinderella Guevara has already determined that he died of a heart attack without an autopsy ever being performed, and she will write on Scalia's death certificate, "Natural causes, heart attack." Okay, I mean, maybe it's just me. Okay, he was 79. Well, so what? That's pretty young still. Age expectancies have greatly increased. So he's 79. As far as I know, he was healthy. I don't know. But you go into somebody's room, their bedclothes are completely unwrinkled, and they've got a pillow over their head, and you automatically say, "Oh, it's a heart attack. We don't need to investigate this. They died of a heart attack." That's a little odd. It's very odd. And if that was my loved one, if that was my dad there or my mom there or whatever, I would be outraged. I would absolutely be outraged. I would want to know what happened. Okay. Unconfirmed reports say that Scalia is to be cremated. Well. Scalia was a devout Catholic who objected to the Second Vatican Council, which, amongst its many errors, lifted the prohibition on cremation. Scalia also would go out of his way to look for parishes that observed the traditional Latin Mass, so it makes no sense as to why a Catholic this devoted would want his body cremated. No Catholic would ever want his body cremated. The prohibition against cremation is one of the strongest within the Catholic faith. Okay. That the nature of his death was already determined without an autopsy, that his body was found with a pillow over his head, makes the judgment on this man's death quite suspicious. Yeah. Articles reposted with the permission from Shubat.com. The opinions and views shared do not necessarily reflect that of Freedom Outpost. This is a website that I just found. I am going to be looking at it and because it seems to be a good one. I don't know. Maybe some of you do. But, all right, let's go back. So I don't think there should be any question in any of our minds that he was murdered at this point. Now, let's go up to the next one. And this happens to be the last one, okay? And it's a link. Q left us with a link. And this should be in red because this is mine, not Q's. Here we go. Now, so we're going to go to this link, and it's about Well, let's just go out there and take a look. You can see it for yourself. It's about Carl Gattas, Executive Assistant Director, National Security Branch. Now, who is he when he's not at home? Well, I had never heard of him before, but I did find a picture of him. Now, this is him, okay? So, now, does he not look like Guido the Killer Pimp? Like, honestly, is he not the kind of man that you'd have nightmares about at night? Like, I don't know the man. I'm just going by, but he just doesn't look real friendly. Anyway, I picked this up from Twitter, and I think that it's important. It says, the latest Q post mentions Carl Gattas, FBI Executive Assistant Director, National Security. See Carl Gattas lie to Grassley, June 2017, about oversight from DOJ. And we're not going to go out and listen to that video. That's something that you can look up and do yourself if you're interested in looking further into this person. I really think that there's going to be more coming out from Q about them, because that's generally what Q does. He introduces us to someone and then later drops more information. So I fully suspect that we'll be seeing more from Guido here. So, and then, see Carl Gattas lie to Grassley, June 27, about oversight from DOJ, then declined to talk to Grassley, September 2017, regarding Obamagate. So, we know right away that he's not pro-Trump, right? Yeah. So, I'm sorry, but doesn't he kind of remind you of someone? Let me make this bigger for you people that are squinting at your phones right now. Doesn't he kind of remind you of this guy? This guy right here. I don't know. I'm just saying. Kind of does. So anyway, that's what Q was saying. Now, we're done with the Q post. We're up to date. And last Q did as he did last night. And as soon as I went to upload something, he was off posting again. The nerve. So we're up to date unless Q posts something else. But I do have a few more interesting tidbits. So if all you're interested in is Q, you can shut the video off and stop it and, go to bed or do something more interesting or listen to somebody else. But if you want a few interesting tidbits at the end, then here they come. Just because I think they're interesting. So, a couple things. Two things. Two little tasty tidbits for you. First of all, let's look at this. Somebody leaked every phone number and address on Anthony Weiner's laptop. Yes, they did. And it's all out there. Hopefully I will remember to put the link for you guys so that you can check it out, because you might find some interesting little things in there. I see names that are familiar to me, and quite frankly, I'm tempted to start calling these numbers. I don't know. It's just I have one of those personalities, I guess. I don't know, but I see a bunch of phone numbers that shouldn't be released, and I want to call them. And if I wasn't in Canada right now, if I was back in the States, I would start calling these numbers, and I'd let you listen in. But it is extraordinarily expensive to call the States from here. So, but I may throw out a few emails, see if anything comes back. But anyway, it goes from A to Z, although I don't think there's anybody under Z. But it's a lot. There's a lot of contacts in here. And it would be interesting. I'd love to look up all of these people. I don't have time to do that, but I think it would be good to do. Might be actually even fun to divide it up and somebody do the A's and somebody do, whatever. But it would be interesting to see who all these people are and how they're related to him, in what way, business, pleasure, whatever. Supplier of little children, I don't know. pizza boy delivery. I don't know. So I just think that's very interesting, and I will leave a link to that in the description. Okay, so look for it there. And if it's not there, then I've forgotten. I've actually forgotten to do it. Like, this video is almost over and I'm going to upload it. And so one would not think I would forget in that amount of time, but one doesn't know me, does one? Okay. Now, let's get out of there. I think that's very interesting, and I'd like to look into it further. But what was I going to do? Oh, right here. Okay. Now, this is interesting as well. Adam Schiff sent his staff to try and collect classified materials for the FBI after Russian pranksters told him Putin had naked blackmail pictures of Trump. You can't make this stuff up, folks. So let's go take a look at it. Okay. Somebody got mad at me for clicking my little down button. They said, get a mouse with a scrolly thing. I'm sure it does sound loud to you guys, and I probably do need to do that because sometimes I don't think about how it's affecting you, like being so close to the microphone when I'm doing that. So anyway, the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee was the victim of a prank phone call, and does it have a picture of him? Little Adam Schiff? No, it doesn't. Oh, well, we know what he looks like. Oh, get out. I hate all these commercials. I've got to get a blocker. Oh, gosh. Why won't this close? Oh my gosh. All right. This is absolutely freaking annoying. Well, I don't know. I can't close it. It won't let me close out of it. It just goes and won't let me minimize it because it goes to oh my gosh, that's awful. Well, I don't know. Can't read it to you, so I'll leave the link. So this is freaking annoying, and they need to do something about that. Anyway, maybe it'll let me move it now. No, of course not. That is unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. There we go. Okay. Adam Schiff sent his staff to try and collect classified materials for the FBI after Russian prankster told him Putin had naked blackmail pictures of Trump. Yeah, and he believed it. Adam Schiff, the ranking Democratic member of the House Intel Committee, was recorded speaking to Russian pranksters who spun elaborate compromat tales. He told Volkan and Lexus, two radio pranksters who have also hit Nikki Haley, that he would pass their claims to the FBI in a call made last year. The duo posed as fake Ukrainian politician to say Trump had sex with Russian glamour model Olga Bozova after a Miss Universe pageant in 2013. In the call, they said Putin had been passed naked pictures of Trump, and now president had used secret codes for talks with Russians. Duo gave emails to dailymail.com, which showed Schiff's staff trying to arrange to collect classified documents from Ukraine's embassy in D.C. Schiff's office claimed he was not fooled by the call and reported it to authorities, but did not explain why his staff kept up correspondence. Call posted in April 2017 surfaced as Schiff waits to see if Trump will declassify his Democratic version of the Devin Nunes memo, which shamed the FBI. So, yeah, he did fall for it. The ranking Democrat, okay, that's, we've already done that. Just wanted to see if there was anything else juicy in here. Well, there he is, Lil Adam Schiff. It was an 8-minute conversation. Schiff appeared to take the call seriously, or at least played along convincingly, and emails from the Democrat staff to the fake politician afterward said he found it productive. Oh, I bet he did. I bet he was just salivating over that. A chance to blackmail Trump and get some dirt on him. Spoofed. Yeah. Anyway, that's that. So that's all I have for tonight. I'm going to cut it off there, and that's it. And let me just see here if anything else has been uploaded by Q. And no, it hasn't. So we are up to date. I will talk to you all later. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Be kind. Good night.